Hello everyone, so this is another study abroad Q&A. This is probably going to be about the last one I do. This is for those of you who are kind of in the pre-departure process of coming to DIS. You know you're coming, or maybe you don't. I guess some of you watching maybe don't know that you're coming yet, but this is just the last round of questions that I'll go over for the time being. Unless anything really pressing comes up in the future, of course, you can always let me know and I would be happy to answer. But without too much rambling, let's go ahead and get into everything. So the first thing I wanted to address was, of course, biking in Copenhagen and how I adapted. It was extremely easy. Literally got on the bike and just started going. If you know how to ride a bike and if you can learn the hand signals, which they're less confusing than they are in America, like if you're turning right, you put your hand out to the right. If you're turning left, you put your hand out to the left. If you're stopping, you put a hand up. That's it. If you can get that down, you're good. You're ready to go. And also crossing the street, like making a left turn was a little bit of something to learn, but to be honest, it's very easy and I highly recommend it. Some questions that I've already addressed are just like, how did you deal with homesickness and the language barrier, and what are some differences between Copenhagen and America? I'm really not gonna get too into that. Please watch my other Q&As if you haven't already, because I really already kind of talk about these questions. In regards to the whole language thing, pretty much everyone here speaks English, but out of respect for the Danes, you could learn a couple of Danish phrases like thank you and so on. So someone asked, do you think the clothes you packed were just right for your travels through Denmark, Sweden, and other European countries? What would I do differently? All I can say is the only thing I didn't pack with me, but that I have talked about purchasing here, were a pair of tennis shoes. Definitely bring comfortable tennis shoes. That's like the #1 suggestion I can make. I brought sort of a rain jacket, would highly recommend a rain jacket, preferably a more neutral color. Really, of course, it's up to you, but people here do typically wear black. So cliche, everyone always says that, but like it's true. So like a dark gray, navy, black would probably be preferred, but like do you wear whatever color you want to wear. You'll want some good jeans. I know I packed probably more dresses than I needed to, and a couple of skirts that I'd never ended up wearing just because it's literally too cold and windy. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, plenty of sweaters, plenty of things to layer with. So like t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies, things like that, because you might want to take things off or put things on, especially when you're traveling to other places. What are the highlights that you have experienced so far in Copenhagen, and what are the must-dos and or must-sees? I haven't done every little touristy thing that you can do here. If you get here in time though, I would recommend going to Papirøen, because it's closing, I think, in a year or something. I'm not sure. I could be wrong on that date, but going to like street food in Papirøen, Paper Island, 100% recommend. It's just a really fun atmosphere to be in, and the creme brulee donut is to die for. I'm a big fan of the Danish Designmuseum. If you are into Danish design, this country is very known for their excellent furniture, product design in general. So if that interests you, I would recommend going there. There's a lot of places where I honestly just recommend kind of sitting out by the water if you get some nicer days here. Black Diamond, which is a library here, has a nice area to sit. Over across from the Opera House, it's really nice to sit there and just watch the boats go by. Like, you can honestly just do some really chill stuff here. You don't necessarily have to like pay money to see some really nice things. Someone asked about good places to eat for vegetarians. Honestly, I haven't been to too many vegetarian specific places. I've already talked about a place called Kaffe here in Nørrebro, which I do recommend, but it's pretty small inside, so hard to find seating sometimes. But pretty much anywhere I've been, oh, my phone just slid down. Pretty much anywhere I've been is pretty accommodating for vegetarians, so I don't have too many specifically vegetarian places actually. I thought I would at this point, but I don't. What is the process of how I rented my bike? Did I buy or rent a used one? I rented one through Copenhagen Bicycles. The link is on DIS's website. It was just the easiest website for me to understand, and I thought it was a pretty good deal. And then people, someone just asked about food and shopping spots. Since I can talk about nothing specifically vegetarian here, I really like Møller Cafe. It's here in Nørrebro as well. They have really good brunch. I recommend the waffles. And what else did I have that was really good? Honestly, even just their fried eggs are good, which I know you can like make yourself, but the combination when you're getting breakfast is really key, you know? I went to a place called Tite, which is technically Australian, I guess. I wouldn't say it's Australian cuisine, but I guess it's Australian owned. And they have mac and cheese egg rolls, so that's pretty cool. I would say check those out. There's a place called, ooh, I'm not gonna get the name right, Smagslugget, I think. Really good sandwich place right off of kind of Norport Station. As far as shopping spots go, there's a really cute boutique here. There's actually 2 locations that I've been to. There might be more, but it's called Stilleben. Sorry about my pronunciation on everything, but they have really cute sort of ceramics, cards, gifts, textiles, things like that. Very Danish, very cute. I recommend Hey, which is another sort of housewares type store. They have a great stationery sort of area. Illums Bolighus, way out of my price range, but if you're just looking for somewhere to kind of bop around and shop for housewares, I like that a lot. As far as clothing goes, there's a vintage store called New Age in Norbro that I've been to that I enjoy, but honestly any vintage shop in Norbro is pretty safe. Henrik Vibskov has a boutique in the city center, which again, he's very expensive, but if you're kind of just going around to look, which I am a lot of the time, his stuff is very, very cool, very inspiring. He's probably one of my favorite designers now. Someone said, what is your typical day like studying abroad? Do you just go to class and then back home, or do you go anywhere in the Copenhagen area? It depends on the day, but typically I live in Norbro, and I do have morning classes for the most part. I had an 8:30 a.m. this semester on Mondays and Thursdays. So I would get up here and then either ride my bike into city center or take the bus. And when I'm at DIS, you know, I go to my classes, and depending on how big of a break I have, I might come home and make lunch. I might stay over there and get lunch. There's been days where I will just kind of bop around Struget, which is the shopping street, and just look in places, which is not good for the bank account, but so I'll do that sometimes. There's a lot to do around DIS, so you don't necessarily have to go home. You don't necessarily have to spend money either. Sometimes I'll go to the glass markets by there, get like ice cream, or just kind of look around at all the little stands in there. That's sort of like another kind of marketplace, obviously. You can tell from the name. Really good question I got. Someone said, what's it like being a Black female in Copenhagen and at DIS? I'm not gonna lie to you. Copenhagen is not a super diverse city. Denmark's just not that diverse in general. There is a pretty big Muslim population here, so that's good to see, especially being in Norbro. This is the more international kind of neighborhood, so you see that a lot more. But yeah, it is pretty white dominant, but to be completely honest with you, I am from Iowa in the United States, and that's a pretty white state as well. So I'm used to it. No one has said anything really rude to me here. I mean, there's been a couple instances where maybe people say some ignorant stuff, but nothing that I've been super offended by and felt like I was super at risk, like my safety was at risk. I have not had any experiences like that. My biggest issue, to be quite honest with you, is finding hair products here. If you are Black, half Black, it's difficult, I'm not gonna lie. You can't just go to Matas, you can't just go to Normal and find things the way other people can. I have not found anything I like here. My hair is dried to a crisp, hence why it's just up today. I'll be happy to be home soon, to be quite honest with you. Although I do think there was a specifically Black hair care place that was mentioned on DIS's website. I had never found it, but I have talked to a woman in Matas, just like a customer. We just randomly started talking because her daughter had a similar hair type to mine apparently. And she said that those stores do exist here, so I would try seeking those out. But that's the biggest issue I've had being a person of color, so if like that's the biggest issue I have to deal with, whatever. Someone asked, are the classes rigorous or time consuming? How heavy is the course load? This is not a one size fits all answer. It's really gonna depend on what you're coming from, what you're used to, how much traveling you're gonna be planning on doing while you're here. It's just like, it totally depends. It depends on what classes you're actually even gonna take here. I know some people in some classes that have to write 10, 20 page papers. Some people only ever have to write like 2-page papers, and I'm not saying they're writing 20-page papers all the time. They might have like one assignment like that, but yeah, it literally just depends. And if you're coming from a school where you're used to having a ton of heavy coursework, you might come here and feel not super challenged. Or if you come from somewhere that's a little bit more laid back, you might find it pretty similar. I don't want to say though that DIS is laid back, because they're not really. They're actually pretty focused on academics here, but it's just kind of, it's at least different than what I'm used to. It's a lot more discussion, a lot more just like you have to do the readings, that way you can participate in class. It's not always like, I'm used to having like several quizzes a week in most of my classes. Like I read a chapter and then I have to go online and take a quiz like 3 to 4 times a week, and that is not the case here for any class that I've taken, but it could be different. It really, yeah, it totally depends. I know that's not a very good answer, but it just depends. Some people had questions about filling out the housing form for DIS. People asking what housing option is the best. No one housing option is better than another. It just totally depends on who you are and what you're trying to gain out of the experience. I know a lot of people in homestays have really enjoyed those because you kind of get more culture, I guess, out of the experience. I've enjoyed living in a collegium because I get to be completely alone, and I really like being alone. People in the residential communities like those just because it's kind of similar to a collegium actually, but you'll have more roommates and things like that. And then the living learning communities are great as well because they're very community based. I feel you're doing a lot with the people that you live with, and I feel like the people who are in those like really all get to know each other, so maybe that's what you're looking for. Just really take your essays seriously that you're writing in the housing application. When I was writing mine, for example, I made sure to be like, I wouldn't mind having a roommate, but I really flourish when I am independent. I like cooking for myself. I like doing homework in complete silence. I like coming home whenever I want to come home. Things like that. Just really target in on how you like living your life, whether or not that relates to a specific housing option or not, because DIS's goal is just to place you in the housing option that works best. Because you might say you want to live in a homestay, but you might be writing your answers and they're thinking to themselves, well, it sounds a lot like they actually want to live in a living learning community, for example. So just be honest, just write from the heart, guys. And finally, a question that people ask a lot is getting medication here. I'm not going to talk about this too much. There's a link down below to DIS's website talking about the medications you can bring in because it's constantly changing for legal reasons. So I don't want to put an answer here on YouTube that's going to be different in a couple months time. So that is basically everything. I will also say other resources that are great for any other questions that you still have that I didn't answer in this video, or that, I don't know, you're just gonna end up thinking about later on. Definitely join the Facebook group when you get prompted with a link to that, because people are constantly going on there asking questions before they arrive. And that's where a lot of people figured out like their medication situation as well. So that might be a good tip. So definitely join that. There's a resources tab on DIS's website with a lot of information. You can ask your study abroad office at your home university, talk to people who have attended DIS in the past at your home university. And of course, always check your email from this point forward, because DIS is going to be sending things constantly and they will probably be answered in an email, and then you won't have to freak out and go hunting all over the place for things that you're curious about. So that's basically that. Thank you all so much for watching this Q&A. This study abroad series is going to be coming to a close pretty soon here. I leave in a couple of weeks. I want to do like an overall reflection on my experience, instill my capsule wardrobe and things like that. But thank you all so much for enjoying this series and being very interactive with me. It's been really fun. It's not over yet. I'm talking about it like it's over. It's not, but yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, and I will catch you all in the next video. So have a great day. Bye. See you later.